The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I am Danny Jones.
And I'm Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 213.
213.
What's our topic today?
This is the truth about cemeteries.
Finally.
Yeah.
Someone will speak up about
Yes.
this.
Yes. The truth according to us, though.
Yes,
really.
exactly.
It
Thank
really
you.
is our opinion.
Yes, disclaimer.
Yeah.
Fully disclosed.
Yeah, fully.
This applies to pet cemeteries, too.
Yes.
Just in case you're wondering.
Yes, it does.
Cool. Well, before we get into that, anything you want to talk about from last week?
Yeah, so last week we did the tower moment, and Chelsea left this on the episode. She said, I love this episode. Two things. I sensed an energy shift in Danny immediately. I noted he was more vocal and animated. Then I learned he quit nicotine. I'm so happy for you. It shows already.
Oh,
and she said, second, Samantha, at some point, I hope you consider doing a show on tarot cards and readings. Your demographic may really benefit. I learned a lot just from this episode. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah,
and
thanks,
good,
Chelsea.
very good advice, I think.
Yeah.
I would agree with her.
The thing is, I don't really know a lot about tarot cards. I kind of fake my way through it. It's not faking, it's using my intuition, but I don't use them the way a normal tarot reader would. Like, I don't do normal spreads like that. So for me to teach it or talk in depth about it would be hard. So we would need to have somebody else come on the show and do that, which we have talked about doing. So
Have somebody else? What do you mean?
a guest,
Oh,
like,
okay.
like Amy or somebody like
Got
that.
it.
Amy's very knowledgeable, so she'd probably be a good person.
But you do a unique way, which you have had other people share with you that they do it similar.
Yes, for sure, for sure. I'm just now learning how to do timing with tarot cards, but there's a lot of, like, what confuses me the most is the combinations. Like, when two cards come out, they a lot of times work together, or like one's a clarifier card, and I don't know all of these things. So I need somebody more knowledgeable than me. We have done an episode on it. It was very early on in the podcast.
Yeah.
But I did have Mystic Molly on my radio show. So if you didn't hear that one, Chelsea,
She's
have
good.
a listen to it. Yeah, because she did talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
Because she's a tarot reader. But thank you for that. And
Thanks,
yes,
Chelsea.
I agree. He did sound more spunky in that episode. And I think it's funny because I've watched you, a lot through this process. And one thing I've noticed is you do have spurts of, like, energy
Oh, yeah.
bursts. Yeah.
That's probably the moment where the monster's like, give me nicotine now.
But you're almost 3 weeks into it. So you should be very proud of
It's
yourself.
gotten a lot better, yes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then, so thank you for that, Chelsea. We
Thank you,
appreciate that. And then every week we answer 2 questions. This week, the first question is from Nancy. She says, is there a middle ground for souls that don't transcend? I don't believe my father has reincarnated, but I don't believe that he is in heaven. He has never showed up in any readings, although I have never given him the green light to come in. Is there a hell, or is earth hell? We did a whole episode on this one,
Yeah.
Nancy. I don't know what the number is, but we did. I'll have to find it for you. But I believe it talked about, or in the title it says hell.
Yeah.
But our belief is that this is hell. That
Closest thing.
Yeah,
you're
this
gonna
is
get to that.
Yeah, this is the worst it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly believe, to some extent, in the entire universe, Earth is the worst it gets. Like, there might be a couple other planets that are bad, but
Right.
this place is really the armpit of the universe, if you ask me.
Yeah, this place is pretty. It's a double-edged sword because it has free will here.
Yeah.
Where, from what I've read, at least with Dolores Cannon books, and a lot of the testimony she's done in her regression therapies, is that this is the only planet with free will.
Mm-hmm.
So it has an immense beauty to the planet, but you have free will here where the other ones don't have that.
Yeah.
Not that they're slaves, but they are already more connected and enlightened to the universe, that they just understand their job and they do it.
Yes.
And they live and survive that way. whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I do think this is one of the hard ones, and I absolutely do not,
No.
wholeheartedly believe in anything at all
No.
that represents something that we've been told that's called hell.
No.
Does not exist. Does
No.
not.
No, I would stake my life on that. Absolutely. Is there a place between here and heaven? Yeah, kinda. There's the astral plane, which I think the way that I look at this is like a resting place or like a stopping point if you're not ready to move on yet. If you were like murdered or committed suicide or something shocking happened and you died.
Sudden.
Yes, yeah. Sudden, exactly. You might not be willing to accept the fact that you've died yet. But I don't think that people stay there very long at all. You can't, time is so different there.
It may not even just be the acceptance. It may be that you don't know.
Yeah.
Because literally we need to understand that the fifth dimension and the fourth dimension and the third dimension. So the way I understood it was like third dimension, fourth dimension is the astral plane in between.
Right.
Fifth dimension is the other side. Sixth dimension is the astral plane in between. Seventh dimension is that realm.
Right.
We need to understand that they overlap.
Yeah, that's true.
And your vibration, your frequency is what allows you to visualize it.
Yes.
Or see it.
Yes.
Or be a part of it. The fifth dimension, the other side, is right here.
Yes, it is.
It's right here. So when you die, if you don't have somebody standing next to you immediately, which you would be maybe confused of like, what happened? But you're going to have a guide that's going to be there almost immediately, if not, that says, well, yes, unfortunately that did happen. But the good news is, hey, look at all this.
Yeah, right.
And then you get to see the amazing side of, heaven. So
absolutely. As far as your father not coming through in readings, I definitely don't believe that that's because he's trapped somewhere or went to a place that doesn't exist. Definitely not. I'll tell you as a medium that sometimes spirits come through in readings, but sometimes they don't. Most of the time in a psychic reading, they don't. But sometimes. When it comes to the way I do readings, I don't just go to the spirit that's there. I bring in the spirit that the person asks me to. So unless you ask me to bring your father in, chances are he's not going to come through unless he busts his way through. Now, I know that she gets readings, Nancy gets readings, I believe, from other mediums as well. So if they do things differently, then, there might be different reasons why he's not coming through. You might have had issues that, he's waiting for you to reach out and bring him in or whatever. Or like in my situation, when I get readings from other people, my mom is usually the one that comes through.
Right.
It's just the way it is. I have never had my grandmother come through. My the guy John I was raised to believe was my dad. I've never had him come through. Right. So but don't look at it as that they're not there. It's just a very weird way that this works. Sometimes when I do readings and spirits come in randomly, they're like people that these people went to school with. And it's where did that come from?
Well, maybe at some point you might be able to try for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, anytime, Nancy. You know where to find me.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
And then the next question is from Crystal. She says, I've been listening to a lot of near-death experiences, which brought me to pre-life experiences. One that I listened to was beautiful. However, she had a hard time making that cross through from the other side to here. She didn't really understand where she was going and was starting to kind of already have amnesia before she went through the birth canal. There was a guide there with her reassuring her that she made this decision. She told her she'd be loved over here on this side and that she was so proud of her and that would be a little girl. She ended up making the jump through and was very comforted by the way her birth mother loved her and it reminded her of home. but she didn't like the stiff body and she didn't understand the language right away. With all of that being said, my question is, do you think some souls backing out last minute could be contributing factor to babies that don't make it through the birth process? Because she definitely had the final say in coming or not. I absolutely believe you have the say in whether you come here or not. Nobody's forcing you to do it. And I do think that souls back out at the last minute. I believe that they also will back out, while you're pregnant, and that, could be the reason for miscarriages.
Stillborn.
Yes. But most of the time, I believe that that's because the parent isn't ready. That there's something going on there, and the parent's just not ready. Not necessarily the baby's not ready. But I find this absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I think that, like the SIDS, which is still a syndrome we really can't explain real well, and why this happens. And I've known people that have lost children to this. And that's after birth.
Yeah.
Well after birth.
Yeah.
So I think it's the choice. I will go as far to say is that I do think probably maybe 75 and maybe 50% of the time it's because the parent isn't ready. But I would say that I think it's also 50% of the time it's the soul that's coming back is not ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not ready to face whatever it is it has to face.
Has more learning to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's very possible to back out at the last minute. But I never thought about this. You think of the near-death experiences, but I've always wondered about this and never knew that this was actually a thing. So I'm going to look into it more because I think it's really cool. Like, I look at babies and I can see the old person in them, and I can see the confusion in them that they're like, oh, God, I'm here again. I really believe that babies are thinking in ways that we don't know that they're thinking.
But what were you just saying to know if it's actually a thing? What were you referring to?
Oh, the before birth experiences. The pre-life experiences, like the soul when it travels through the birth canal.
It's followed too.
Yes, and do we even absorb things when we're in the womb? Do we have thoughts when we're in the womb? Like, this stuff fascinates me. Is what's actually going on. So I'll have to look into that more.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. And then every week we do a reading. So this week, let me get the picture out. This is for Amy. And she said, "This is my Papa, Howard." And Howard seemed reluctant to pass, is what she was saying in this. But right before they found out that that his cancer had returned, he had a very interesting spiritual experience while in the hospital. He kept pointing to the sky and saying he saw Jesus, who was saying, "Follow my footsteps," and there were people all around him. Of course, we didn't see any of them. He looked at me shortly after and said something about all of us, his family, waiting for him to die, and he didn't understand why. I assured him we wouldn't want him to die, but asked if he wanted to. Tears filled his eyes, and he shook his head no. His quality of life hadn't been great for many months, but he still wanted to live. Within the next day or two, we found out about the cancer, and a little over a month later, he was gone. I'm not sure if he ever had made peace with the idea of death. I know he's okay now, but I'd like to know if he was at peace and if there is anyone specific now that he's with on the other side. I often forget he's gone and sort of feel like he's still here, and I can't help but wonder if his presence is around me in those moments. Okay, so let me bring it the picture again. This is Papa Howard. I always show Danny the picture beforehand. He gets impressions on things too. So, like, I've told him, if you have things that you're feeling, throw them out. Yeah. And then when we get the feedback, that way we know. Because you can't practice if you don't practice. Okay, let's talk to Howard. Howard. I like that name, Howard. I always have, because I can call you Howie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Howard is standing next to a cake that by it has 90, which tells me that he was at least 90 years old. Yeah, and he does not look 90 at all.
No, I would give him 85.
Yeah.
Maybe 80.
Yeah, really, he looks good for that.
Yeah.
But let's see. He tells me that he did not make peace with death before he died. And and this is a lesson, he says. This is a lesson for a lot of people, is that he was nervous till the very end. He held on and held on and held on. And when he got there, he was like, what did I hold on for?
I heard that so loud.
Did you?
This was my lesson.
Yes.
Some people actually come to a life, believe it or not, just to experience a certain type of death.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. So he looks back and he goes, I wish that I would have done things differently. I wish that I wouldn't have had this fear of dying, because he said, honestly, if I would have known, I would have gone earlier. I wouldn't have gone through all the cancer stuff. It wasn't worth it, because all it did was extend my life and made me worry more about getting closer to death and all that stuff.
And to probably diminish the quality.
Absolutely, yeah. But mostly, like, not just physically, like, he did feel, the effects of it physically, obviously, but mentally. What it did to him mentally, because he was so scared of death. Now he's very, very much at peace, and he's showing me that he's there. There's a few women, actually. At first, there was one woman that popped up, and then there were two others. One is Mom, but the other one I'm going to assume is wife, or, your grandma is what it feels like. It's definitely a grandmother feeling. And then the other one might be a sibling. Because it feels like all family, all close-knit family people that you would be really close to. But he likes being around these women. He tells me that he always enjoyed being around women, and not for the reason why you might think, but because he found them very intriguing. He felt that women could offer something that most men didn't even understand, and so he always really liked to, pick women's brains. How do you think compared to what a man would think? He was very interested in it. And this might be one of the reasons why, is because he was surrounded by a lot of women, is what it looks like.
Yeah, I relate to that.
Yeah. So anyways, let's see. Did I answer your question? It was, that's who he's with on the other side, and he is at peace. And yes, he is absolutely around you. When you have those moments where you're just going about your day and all of a sudden you do remember that he's gone, that's him. That's absolutely him going, hi, remember me? And a lot of times we take it as grief coming and smacking us upside the head, but it's really them coming to us, because how else are they supposed to come to us if we're going to feel them? How do we expect to feel them? Right. A lot of times people tell me, I don't feel my loved one that's passed away. Well, what is it that you're looking for? What are you looking to feel? If you're looking to feel an overwhelming sense of need to cry, that's them.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue, that's them. So when you have those moments where it's just whoa, he's gone.
I think a lot of this, I'm going to be honest, this connecting and your own spiritual journey, if you're afraid of emotion, you're going to have a harder time.
Oh, yeah.
Connecting to anything.
Oh, yeah.
The other side, yourself, you have to be able to allow those emotions to flow through you.
Yes, you do.
And that's when you will feel, like you said, that's when you will feel their presence.
Yes.
And touched by them.
Yes. He wants to give one more message, and this isn't necessarily just to you, although he wants me to tell you that he loves you and thank you for doing this reading, because he's very glad he got to come through. But he would like to tell the other listeners, anybody listening, not to fear death. Don't do what he did, is what he's saying, because it was a waste of his time. He wishes now he would have looked forward to it. He was seeing people around him, and he absolutely was seeing Jesus. And this is definitely possible. If you want to see Jesus, if you believe in Jesus, you will see him. So he says it's nothing to fear. It's beautiful over there. You want to live your life out here, do what you are supposed to do here. But when it's time for you to move on, don't resist that need to move on, because it's beautiful. So.
Really quick, if we could ask Howard, I don't know if you could ask him this.
Sure.
When you saw Jesus, because I do believe this, and Dolores talks about this, whoever you want to be greeted by, when you cross over, it will be done.
I believe it.
Okay? And Christ was a real soul. He's a real person that walked this earth. If that's what you believe, and that's what you want to see, he will be there for you.
Yes.
Did he look at all like what you thought he looked like?
So here's the thing about that. What he's telling me is his looks are very much perception based. So when he saw him originally, yes, in order for him to know that it was Jesus, because he wasn't dead yet, he did need to see him as we have seen him here. However, when he passed and he saw not Jesus himself there, because Jesus himself there is energy. You're just
Right.
seeing him as this ball of energy. But he's telling me that no, Jesus does not look anything like what we believe in.
I figured as much.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, because like, let's say, for instance, your mom will be right there.
Oh,
The day that you take your last breath, and your mom will be right there.
oh yeah, she will.
How will she present herself to you? Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because in this reading that you'll talk about, are you talking about that today?
I was gonna, do promo for the show because that's on the other show.
Anyways, this thing that you got done
Mm-hmm.
resembles a certain era of her life.
Yes.
So how will she show you herself to you?
Right.
What the way the age
Right,
you
when
remember
I
her
pass,
passing,
yeah.
or how she felt best about herself.
That's what I believe.
So, and I also agree with you too about, and with Howard, that probably just being in the presence of Christ, you're knowing that it's Christ without even seeing a face.
Yes.
However, I find it interesting because I had this little bit of comedy role play in my head where, like, Howard's sitting there like the bus stop, like waiting for the train to come,
Yeah.
and it's like all of a sudden this man appears and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" We're ready to go, and he's like, well, I'm actually waiting for Jesus. And the guy's
awesome.
like, "I am Jesus."
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, definitely not anything what we portrayed him
No,
to look
I figured as
like.
much.
He's not
Not white.
He's not
I'll tell you
white.
that right now. He doesn't
don't
have
know.
straight, beautiful blonde,
No.
dirty brown
No.
hair, and he's not white.
No, he's not. Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that, Howard, because I
Yeah.
always wanted to know.
Thank you, Howard. And thank you, Amy. I hope that you enjoyed the reading.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep. So before we go on to the episode, let's give our info.
Okay.
So you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I have a radio show that airs every Wednesday on Voice America on the Empowerment Channel. And this coming week, what Danny was talking about is that I'm going to have a medium on. Her name is Sunny, and she draws your loved one. So when she
Cool.
channels them, it's really cool. She did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited to really get into it and the things that she got. But she drew, my mother and my grandfather came through.
Yep.
And it was so funny because I told Danny, I really want my grandfather to come through. He never does because my mom's always like, me.
Yeah.
They both came through. It was like, it was awesome. So
Well,
you got to hear the stories
And her
things
her
she
images
says.
look like them.
She does. It does.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They resemble like almost like a photograph that you would be familiar with.
Yes.
Kind of, like
Yes.
it's something you could reference
There
to
is a
go,
picture.
"Oh wow, this looks like the one that you showed me of your mom, totally her face."
Yeah.
But the hairdo looks
Yes.
like a hairdo I've seen on another picture of her when she got the perm done.
I was trying to find it and I couldn't
Yeah.
find it. And I'm hoping before the radio show that I
Right.
can to compare it. Because it is, yes, the face is just, whoa.
It's on.
Yeah. And the hairstyle, it was just from a different era than,
Yeah.
before she passed. So I got to find pictures. But yeah.
Cool.
So tune into that show because it's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And if you like photography, djones71 photography for Instagram for my photos.
Yay.
And that's all for me.
Fabulous.
Okay, then. Episode 213, The Truth About Cemeteries.
Yes. So, like we said at the beginning, this is a truth according to us, according to what we feel from the universe.
Yep.
But it's not fact. So, everybody's entitled to their own opinions.
Yes.
So, we're not trying to argue your opinion or tell you that you're wrong at all. Just sharing ours with you. What got us thinking about this episode is that we're leaving California, and so we have a list of things that we want to do before we leave California. And one of the things on the list was to visit Forest Lawn Cemetery, where there's a lot of celebrities that are buried. And Danny's birthday was on Wednesday. Happy birthday, Kathy.
Thank you.
So
And for everybody else that wished me happy birthday,
Yeah.
thank you.
So we decided to go that day. It was cloudy. We thought it's a perfect day to go. And on the way there, I started thinking about how can we turn this into an episode? How can we talk about cemeteries? And I thought, we haven't really talked about what we feel is going on there. And I know that a lot of people come to me and they ask me a plethora of questions about, are your loved ones there? What should we do with their body? All of that stuff. So that's where this episode is coming from today. We had a really nice trip to Forest Lawn. It's huge if you're ever in California. Yeah. This was just one of them too.
Compared to Hollywood Forever, which we had seen a few months ago.
Yeah.
This is like 4 times the size of that.
That was a nice one too. Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what's actually going on in these cemeteries. Like when you go to a cemetery, what is it that you're expecting is going to happen there and what is really going on? When my mom passed away, I looked at this as the place that I'm going to visit her. That whenever I'm in California, it's important for me to go and bring her flowers to let her know that I love her and I'm here with her. But I didn't know what was going on at that time. So now I still do go to the cemetery, but I don't believe that we need to go there.
Right.
I don't believe that it's, that's the place where we talk to our loved ones. It's a place
that's a place that they're hanging around.
Yes.
Waiting for somebody to come visit them.
Yes, exactly.
It's not at all.
Yes, I actually asked our listeners that, and let me get that open. When do you feel that spirits hang out in cemeteries? And 63% said when they have a visitor.
Yep.
25% said whenever they want, which is also true.
True.
And 12% said I'm not sure. But no one said never. And I don't believe it's never, but I do believe that our loved ones do not just randomly go there.
No, I don't think so. Like the 25% that said whenever they want, that is true. However, they don't really want to hang out there.
No.
They want to see their loved ones. So if you're there to visit them, their gravesite, then yes, absolutely they would be there. I have a very vivid memory as a child when my parents divorced when I was like 2. So my dad would come every other weekend and pick my sister and I up to come back out to the Ventura County area from Venice and LA area. That's where he lived. So we would take different routes sometimes, not always the same, sometimes Malibu, and we'd go through Santa Monica or whatever. But I remember going through Santa Monica, and I can't remember what the name of that cemetery is, but it's pretty large. And there's like a brick wall that extends down this particular road that we would go. I don't even know what road that is, or street.
Sepulveda Boulevard.
It could have been, I want to say like Centinela, but I could be wrong.
If it's the one I'm thinking about.
So, but in the wall, there would be breaks in the wall where you could see in. And I found it fascinating as driving along. It was like, I want to see in. I want to see in. And then the wall would block me and I'd get 1 second. There's a, keep going. There it is. And I would say out loud, I want to go in there.
Yeah.
And my dad would make a joke. I remember him making this joke one time that was hilarious, but he's like, oh, you're just dying to get in there, aren't you?
God, my stepdad used to say that all the time. People are just dying to get in there.
I didn't know how to explain why I felt it interesting.
Yeah.
To go, and somebody else said this in our discussion group about just seeing how families, how close one dies from the other.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. You'll see a mother and then all of a sudden a son.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, and the older ones, like the age, going, wow, man, this person's been here since 18 what? 1855 or something,
Yep. So,
but yeah, that's incredible. However, to me, it's sort of like just reading like an obituary. Mm-hmm. In some strange way, I feel like it's very empty.
Yes.
That there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's really just empty. It's nothing there except, I hate to say it, boxes and bones and grass and dirt.
Yeah.
And your loved one, might be there. But you see what I mean? That's why they don't really particularly want to hang out there.
Yeah.
Because they feel the same way, that there's nothing there for me.
No.
It's a memory of death that's hard. They don't regret it because they're in the most amazing place ever. Mm-hmm. But that, I'm sure, brings back that part of your existence that you're like, I'd really rather not have to think about that.
Yeah.
I want to think about the good,
Yeah. We get a lot of like things from movies or like even like Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
You see these ghosts are coming out of their tombstones.
Yeah.
So we put this out there that that's where the spirits are. And when my mom died, it was really hard, obviously, because it was so sudden. And so I just wanted the best for her. I wanted everything that she asked for, for her service. And this is another thing that our loved ones want us to know, is that when the time comes and you have to make these decisions, you can make whatever decisions you want. You don't have to go by what they wanted. So my mom wanted a white coffin. She wanted her hair dyed. I've talked about all of this before. I couldn't do any of it. Like literally there were roadblocks in every single one. And the reason that there were roadblocks was because these things were no longer important to her. I didn't realize that at the time. I thought that this was just a really difficult situation and it was not going my way.
Yeah.
But looking back and hearing from my mother exactly what she was doing, she was showing me this is not what's important.
No.
And I wish she would have stopped me from even going farther, because not only did I have her embalmed, but I had her she's in the coffin, and then she's put into like what do they call those things? Like a big box.
A concrete
It's a concrete box. It's beautiful. It's white with roses on it. It's beautiful. But there was absolutely no reason for any of this. And I wish I would have thought about that then, but I wasn't at that place in my life. Same with when my grandma died. She had her plot already. Everything was, done. I just had to pick certain things and do the service. But I wish that I would have known this now, because I would like to just rather not have done that for both of them.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. There's other ways besides cremation and burial.
Yeah. I'm going to interject my own personal opinion about it for a second. And that is as easing it is as it is on the family's hearts and minds to have a place like this, to honor your loved one and bury them and have a place to go visit and walk down memory lane now and then. I kind of feel like it's sort of like a giant Hallmark card. It's a way to play and make money off of people's heartstrings.
Yes.
And I've heard stories in the past where cemeteries have gotten busted for digging up sites that are hundreds of years old, discarding them, and starting over. The concept of putting this concrete box in the ground with you inside of a wood box inside of it.
Yeah, with embalming fluid.
Is embalming fluid,
Yeah.
which is even worse.
Yeah.
Is to
sure
me,
is.
and I hate to get morbid, this is just asinine.
It is. It's ridiculous.
Why we even bury the loved ones in clothing is absolutely asinine to me. We should go right back to the earth of where we came from.
Yes.
And if it were up to me, I would be, which is expensive, the podding, the tree pod.
Yeah, I have it all here.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But probably just go with the cremation. Again, cremation can't be great for the atmosphere.
No.
If everybody wasn't being buried and we were being cremated.
Yeah.
That can't be good either. So we have to find other things. But if burial seems like the most natural way and the longest part of our history, then why not? Why couldn't you have instead of a cemetery with stones and plaques on the ground that are just signifying the life of somebody? Why couldn't there be a tree in the place of that stone or placard?
Yes.
And you can still put a plaque down at the trunk by the tree,
Yep.
But why aren't we giving back to Mother Earth that gave to us?
Yep.
For our whole life.
I couldn't agree more. Let's go over a few of different of these ways, because I do have a list of them. Like Danny was talking about, you can become a tree. There's companies that allow families to mix their loved one's ashes with soil at the base of their chosen tree. Wildflower seeds are then spread on top of the space, contributing to the forest growth. This is another great option for those who want to remain close to the cycle of life of nature. There's also returning to the soil, and this one fascinates me the most. In 2020, Washington State became the first state to allow legal human composting as a method of disposition of the deceased. If you choose this method, your body will naturally decompose and will become usable soil that's returned to your family. The soil can be used to plant trees, start a garden, or can be spread somewhere of your choosing. That's probably what I would want.
I've seen the other ones, though, that's the tree-based idea. But you're actually not cremated. You're like in a sack underneath the ground. And then the tree is planted right then above you. So your decomposition is feeding the life of that tree. There's no ash.
Oh, that one I've never seen.
I haven't heard of the ash part one, but
Yeah,
I've seen actual pictures. Where have I seen this? Like on the internet.
I don't know. It wasn't even on the list.
Yeah,
I don't
where
know.
it's like a full-on, you're like in a sack.
That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. Because I thought that was just the ashes, too, after you're cremated. So I'll have to look into it. Here's a couple of other cool ways. You can become art. If you're passionate about art or health, you may want to consider turning your body into an actual art exhibit for Body Worlds. The series of exhibits has attracted over 44 million visitors on 6 continents and helps to teach people about the inner workings of the human body.
We saw that.
We did, yes. And it's really cool. And there's so many, like, things that, I don't know, old wives' tales or conspiracy theories about where these bodies actually came from. But no, you can donate your body to this, and that's pretty cool. Also, this one I saw recently. You can liquefy yourself. Alkaline hydrolysis is emerging as a new alternative to cremation. The process involves submerging a body in a heated alkali solution of potassium hydroxide. This mimics the body's natural process of breaking down, but takes only a few hours instead of many years. Alkaline hydrolysis is also recognized as a greener alternative using a fraction of the energy of standard cremation.
What is the waste used for at the end? Does it specify?
What did it say? No, it didn't say.
Is that a safe waste? What is this?
But that's a good question. No, it didn't say in this little snippet that I got.
Because I like
here.
the idea of the alternative to cremation. So we're not polluting the skies.
Right.
But if we're using some sort of liquid, that's not really good to pour back, I want to get away from the embalming and all that stuff that's going in the ground.
No, because it says it's recognized as a greener alternative.
Well, okay.
So, no. But then, also, if you're just insistent on you want to be buried or you have to bury your loved one, consider going green. So some of the key elements of a green burial include foregoing the embalming and using biodegradable burial containers or shrouds and grave markers that are aimed at preserving natural views.
Yeah, and go naked, man. Birthday
Yes,
suit.
seriously.
That's what I'm talking.
Yeah, seriously.
You don't need an open casket. That's kind of freaking weird anyway, so.
It is really weird. Why do we do this?
Because we can't let go.
Oh, I can't handle the open casket funerals. There's just like, please, no. Please. Okay, so what else do we have here for you? So, do you ever, I asked our listeners this, do you ever go to cemeteries to look around or to check out old graves? We love to do that.
I know.
And I don't think that it's morbid. Like, for me, it's quite interesting. I want to see Walt Disney's grave, which is at the other Forest Lawn. And the Marilyn Monroe is at another cemetery in Hollywood. And so I'd like to go to those if possible before we move. But just going to Forest Lawn the other day, it's like, wow. Yeah. There's so much there, so many people there, and it's like, this is a lot of land, first of all, that's being taken up. It was. But some of it, like, I didn't find it so much with Forest Lawn, but the Hollywood Forever Cemetery had a lot of art. Yeah. The ones where it's just like the plaque on the ground and that's your head marker, I don't like those. Yeah. The rest of the stuff, it's polluting the earth or whatever. But some of this stuff was so old. Yeah. It was so old. So it's so cool to walk around there and go, oh my gosh. Somebody here died in 1900 and they built this gigantic statue for them. And it's like, whoa, it's cool.
Yeah, some of them I noticed too that were really old. This is a strange thing, but the mausoleums where they're not buried in the ground, they're buried in the walls. Yeah. Some of those placards, kind of like how the Statue of Liberty is like bronze, but it looks blue because that's the ocean air tarnishing it, the oxidation.
Yeah, it's cool.
So some of these placards on the walls are blue.
It's really
like
cool.
Bright blue, and they drip like this kind of blue stain down. I just find it really fascinating. But
Yeah.
we were noticing that some of these, there's like no birth. There's no birth here.
Well, it's just the year of birth and the year of death. There was no date, is what it was. It was just the year of the birth and the year of the death.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
There was just something bizarre. Like,
It was
what-
really bizarre.
Something's missing.
Yeah.
There's information missing.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they just didn't know the person's. That's where my head was going.
Yeah,
They
no,
didn't
a
know
lot
the
of them were
person's
like that. Yeah.
birth date, but they only knew the death date.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just something about the age of it,
Yeah.
and realizing that when you're standing over a famous person's grave or looking at their site, that they're the same as you.
Yeah.
That we're really all the same.
Yeah.
I saw Ronnie James Dio's grave, and I love Dio. I've always loved Dio, from Rainbow to Sabbath to the Dio band himself. And I was totally floored.
Yeah.
To be standing, it caught me
Yeah.
by surprise because I didn't really realize that was his site at first. It was written in script, like his
Mm-hmm.
writing, and so I couldn't really. I was like, Dio, who's that? And then I looked closer, realizing it's him. And then there's like there's a
Yeah, that was
potted
cool. Mm-hmm.
plant with the horns, the hand horns.
We should post these pictures in
Yeah.
the group. Mhm.
But that was rather incredible. Just
Yeah.
to stand there and go, wow, this guy, like, I'm never going to get any closer to standing next
Right.
to him, even though he's not here.
Yep.
Same thing with Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead. We saw his. John Ritter.
Yes, John Ritter got me.
And
I stood there and talked to him and thanked him for all of the
Yes.
comedy that he
I did
gave
too.
to us when we were kids. And but Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds
Yes.
was the one that I was looking for.
That was great. That
Yeah.
was a day apart.
A day apart, and I just stood there and again thanked them. Those two had a rough life.
Yeah.
So,
but that's one of those where it hits you. Like
It
somebody
does.
said, you realize, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like mom died and then daughter died the next day.
No, it was the other way around.
Or, excuse me. the
Mom
other way
died
around.
of a broken heart.
That's right. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting. But
And then seeing some like what's their names? Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Stan Laurel.
Yeah.
I think his site was like, wow.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep, there are some beautiful ones.
This place was very pretty.
Yeah.
I almost like God. I was thinking if there was some sort of like place in heaven that didn't represent death.
True. Yeah.
And didn't have these markers on the floor or the
Yeah.
grass, that this could almost look like something heavenly.
You're right.
Just these sprawled out grass plains and stairs and walls. That the walls they only go up so high, and they're just there for like decoration, but vines grow
beautiful.
on them, and they have statues, and
Yeah.
it's just like steps of going off in all these different directions with no really.
Yep.
There was a pretty ridiculous painting on this wall that I wanted to go up and
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah, there was
spray paint over.
Yeah, there were a couple things that were weird, but
Something about Liberty. There was a Liberty Hall there,
Yeah.
and it said that I don't remember.
it was something
Something to
kinda
the
harsh,
effect
but-
of like, if you don't believe in God, then you won't be liberated.
Yeah, something like that. It was like, whoa, that's heavy.
And it's a big mural,
Big,
just
yeah.
looking over this whole thing.
Yeah, that was.
And I was like, they could have done without that.
Yep,
That
was
people
interesting.
that are burying their loved ones
Yeah,
and not wondering if they've ever,
yeah,
been saved, if
Yeah.
you will.
right.
And to look at that giant mural over your person's service,
Yeah,
that's not cool.
No. So, like I mentioned, I asked our listeners if they like to go to cemeteries and just look around and check out the old graves, and 22% said yes, I love to do it and do it often. 48% said yes, I like to read the headstones, I find peace in it. And 30% said no. And some of the comments that we got on this from listeners were this one's from Nancy. She says, sometimes I make up stories about the family plots. It's fascinating to me when you see how close some families pass away together, husband and wife or mother and baby. Absolutely. It happens all the time. Dying of a broken heart, I believe, is real.
Yes.
But also that sometimes all the time, that's just the way it's supposed to go too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's not by accident.
No, it's not. And then Shauna said, I love cemeteries and graveyards. I'm not afraid of them because each gravestone was a life lived, even those that don't have grave markers. I view cemeteries and graveyards as a way to try and honor that person. It also helps those who are grieving to have somewhere to go to be with their loved ones, if that makes sense. I love them because I find them peaceful for some reason. Also, spirits are everywhere, so technically everywhere is haunted. Doesn't make it a bad thing. It's just a giant spirit party.
Yeah, you make a great point, Shauna, that.
Yep.
And the word haunted, it just bothers me. I think occupied
Yeah.
would be a more appropriate term, because I feel like haunted just implies something evil, dark,
Yeah.
and unwelcome.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
Yeah, when I first brought up this episode to you, you weren't super keen on it because I think you thought I was going to go a different direction with it, more paranormal, more haunting. And
Yeah.
that's not what I'm into either. Like, I just want to talk about the truth. I want to tell people this is what's really going on there, not all that stuff you see in movies that's fake.
No.
Because that's just,
That's all
bull.
made up in our minds.
Yes. Our brother-in-law, Jared, he said, I used to take LSD and go hang out in cemeteries a lot. And yes, looking to see or feel something, nothing, unless we tripped ourselves out.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like, these people's relatives, they don't want to come to you if you're in the cemetery. I've been in a few cemeteries at night, and it's like, it's nothing. These people are not here. They do not want to come here for me. They do not care. This is, yeah.
And if they are there, I'm going to be honest, if they are there and spook you, they're doing it out of comedy.
Yes, for sure.
They're literally on the other side or standing there next to you on the other side laughing.
Yes, because you're frightened.
Because you're frightened. Because you
sounds
came
bad,
there to
but-
get frightened.
Yeah.
And now they're going to frighten you. And that's the whole game.
Yeah.
So but there's nothing evil.
No.
They're not going to send, a sword thrusting through your chest.
No.
Because you came to talk to them.
No. The energy is what you're feeling. Like if the hair on your neck stands up, or on your arms if you're in a cemetery,
Yeah.
or you feel something weird, it's the energy of the spirit that you're, there with, or
Yes.
whatever.
Literally.
But yeah, people don't know that because they don't know what the energy is supposed to
Right.
feel like. So they think it's like a haunting.
Right. I was scared, man. My hair stood up. Well, you probably walked right through an orb.
Right, exactly.
And you
yeah.
felt their
the
energy.
energy, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep. Patricia said, I have 4 cemeteries that I visit and clean. I feel sad when I don't go, so I have a memorial flower pots for them at my house. I think the sadness comes from knowing that visiting the cemeteries is something I mentally need. I didn't make time for myself and quieting my mind. We are planning an out-of-state move, and I know I will miss those regular visits. The military cemeteries are breathtaking, very respectful and solemn. Yeah. During my cemetery visits is when I listen to the Philosophy Chatter podcast.
Right.
My mind is quiet and I'm able to focus. Otherwise, I have to rewind several times.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then I also asked our listeners, do you visit your loved ones that are buried at the cemeteries? And 75% said yes. Mm-hmm. Alicia said, honestly, I feel obligated to visit. I feel bad when I don't. I don't ever want to be buried. I want to be cremated and my ashes spread with my pets. Yeah. I want my kids to know I will always be with them in spirit. They don't need a buried shell making them feel obligated to visit. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it. I have a really dear friend that I've had for years that is an atheist, like doesn't believe in anything. Mm-hmm. Yet that's where they go to visit their parent that's deceased. And right. I found that interesting.
It is interesting. I do too, yeah.
Like, I guess I assumed everybody was going there on some sort of spiritual kind of way.
Right.
Level. Like
right.
trying to connect with the spirit of the loved one, their energy, or even God, itself. Or
something, yeah.
And when I heard them say that, I was like, wow, that's interesting. Because here's the point about it, is that we are the only ones, incarnate people or souls in bodies. We are the only ones that make this sad.
Yeah.
It's not sad for them.
So true. No.
Even if they're there visiting you while you're visiting them,
yeah,
they're not crying and sad.
No.
On the other side, like you are,
no.
Kneeling down, putting water in their flower pot holder, or cleaning off their,
yeah,
their headstone and giving them a little chat. Or
right.
They are not in the same emotional space. Not one of us leaves this world and then from the other side regrets not being here anymore. Not one of us.
No, I've never heard that, yeah.
No matter who you leave behind, once you see the beauty and the truth about everything from this world to all the bullshit that we're told, the
Yeah.
lies, to the truth about heaven and hell, if you will.
Yeah.
You have no desire. You are perfectly content where you are, and you're no hurry.
Yeah.
You know, even for another life, you are in no hurry.
Yeah.
You are perfectly happy where you're at.
It's funny because I just felt my grandmother, and I don't feel her I feel her a little bit every day, but not like this. Like, she doesn't normally come in and want to give her opinion. But what I feel her opinion is that every week after my mom died, she went to the cemetery and she cleaned that headstone and she brought her flowers. And it was something that she did because she felt that she needed to do it.
And she tormented herself.
She tormented herself. So she wishes that she wouldn't have, but she also wants everybody to know that if you feel you need to do that, it's okay. Nobody's looking down on you for doing that. But as a spirit now, she's giving me advice of don't do that to yourself.
Because you're tormented.
You are tormenting yourself. Even after she couldn't do that anymore, before like her mind got really bad and she forgot. Like, then my mom was around her and she saw her, like when the dementia started hitting and she saw my mom.
Right.
But like before that, she asked me if I was going there to clean it and to put flowers. And I only go there really if I need, like, I talked about this on my radio show, but like when I'm having a bad day and I would go to my mom's house if she was alive, that's when I go to the cemetery.
Yeah.
When I feel like there's nowhere else for me to go, I go to the cemetery and I talk to her. It's just something I do.
Right.
And I have since I moved here.
Right.
So, you know.
And just so you know, because I'm glad that Kitty came in and said that, I could feel her immediately.
Yeah.
And it was something that was very important that you've mentioned on other shows is that when she passed away, meaning Kitty, and you were there, or as soon as you arrived, and you saw her lifeless body, you heard immediately, this is just a shell.
Just a shell, over and over again.
She did that on purpose.
Yes.
Because she did not want you to do what she did.
Mm-hmm.
And this is no disrespect to anybody that wants to go and clean the loved one's tombstone and fill their water and put flowers. There's no disrespect in that, and or even what we're saying. If
Right.
you want to do it and it makes you feel better, do it.
Exactly.
We're just saying that you'll have as much effectiveness on your own grief if you just sat at home with a photo album
Right.
of that person and reminisced and told them that you loved them.
Right.
But if you feel it important to go to this location, so be it. Do
Right.
it. But I think there is a level of torture
There is.
that you're doing to yourself. And the reason that she told you that is because she didn't want to see you do that.
No. No.
What she did with your mom and what you did with your mom.
No.
She wanted to see you accept it, love her, let her go, and you'll see her very soon.
Absolutely. She's buried too, and I've never once been there since she died.
Right.
And I probably won't. It's just it's not that I don't care, it's that it's just not her. Yeah. Like when she died, she was just a mere fraction of what she was in life. There was nothing left of her. It's like, why would I want to go there and, like, you know, talk to this body of my grandma? And she's quite a ways away too. Yeah. So my mom's really close by. So there is a difference there. But yeah, it was very hard, and they definitely don't want that. Now, when I do go there, I look at my mom's headstone, and if my grandma was alive, I know she would have been like, "Oh no, you need to do something about this," you know. So I clean it up, and but I don't buy her flowers because they don't. That's another thing. I don't bring flowers to the cemetery unless I bring them from home, usually, because what's the point? Unless it's like a birthday or whatever. Right. But like if I'm just going there to see her, I don't bring flowers because I'm just wasting my money. She doesn't want them. Right. They're not really, you know, we're giving them, but she doesn't want them. Right. But looking at the money aspect of things too, when we have somebody that passes away, you know, you have to do something with them. You have to do something. They do not want us to spend a bunch of money that we don't have on them. Even if you do have a bunch of money, it's not really necessary. You know, but they really don't want that. Like I hear a lot of families that, you know, they do GoFundMe's or they are just at dire straits because they don't have the money to bury their loved one. No, don't do it because your family doesn't want you to. They don't miss that body
anymore.
Yeah.
They don't miss the Gucci purse anymore.
No, they don't.
They don't miss the sports car in the garage anymore. No. They don't miss their favorite guitars anymore. No. That was just part of what was here to pass the time. Yep. And entertain us.
Yep.
But it's not your truth. your real existence.
Yes. Let's read a few more of these because we still have a little bit more time. This one's from Hope. She says, I have zero attachment to cemeteries. If I want to feel close to someone I've lost, I just talk to them from wherever I am. I don't feel like anything other than bones are in a grave.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it,
I
Hope.
agree with you, Hope. Melissa said, my son is buried at a military cemetery and it's beautiful. I like to visit because it is so, so peaceful. There are lots of trees, a creek, and I often see deer. I know he is with me whenever I go, but I feel so much peace when I'm there. That's great. If you go there and you feel peace, because I do feel that at my mom's cemetery when I'm just going there, if like it's her birthday or whatever. It's beautiful. I love to walk around there. The other ones we've been to, visit the other graves. And then Crystal said, when I'm in California, I visit my grandparents' burial plot. It's at the mission that I went to as a child for Mass. The grounds have a very nostalgic feeling for me, also because she loved the church so much and really wanted to be buried where she's buried. It does make me feel closer to her. I have so many memories on the grounds of the place, and she loved it so much. The cemetery did horrify me as a child, though now it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And then Sunshine said, only my Nana and Boompa. That's funny. I never heard Boompa. Bommpa.
Oh, that's cute.
That's cute.
Boompa.
Yeah, Boompa. Are in the cemetery. I don't remember
Like
that
Boompa
one.
Loompa?
That's the word of the day, Boompa.
I kid, Sunshine.
So they're in a cemetery. The rest of my people have been cremated, but I love to go to cemeteries and just read headstones, wonder about their lives. I don't think they hang there, but the cemeteries that have the small locked buildings definitely have a certain vibe to them, like heavier when you peek in the window. Always wondered about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom, right next to where my mom is the Karen Carpenter Mausoleum. Mm-hmm. And I think her parents are in there with her. There's a few, but you can't go in. No. You just can look at it from the outside. And you're like, I want to go in.
But I don't.
No. No.
I do, but I don't.
I do, but I don't. There's lots of spiders in there. That's probably why I wouldn't want to. And then Nancy said, occasionally, not often, it's just more to check in on them. The real conversations happen in my head and not in a place that holds their remains.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a healthy way to go.
It is, absolutely, right? And then the last one here is from Shauna. She said, the last time I went to a cemetery was to try and find my granny's headstone just to see what it looked like. I haven't visited my uncle's gravestone. They were buried together since my Uncle Andy was placed there. While I do love cemeteries, I see it as this. Yes, my loved ones' bodies are there. They're there, but their spirit is wherever they want to be. My granny had a headstone, was cremated, and is currently in an urn in my mom's dresser. We put little things on her urn because she'll pop in. We'll share wine with her. Just because she's not physically here doesn't mean she's not here. It makes things a hell of a lot easier to cope because she is still here. I love that. Yeah. Absolutely. Like you should. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. If you feel, like you want to have the urn on display and put things with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that at all. I have a lot of stuff displayed, like my mom's stuff, as kind of like shrine to her almost. But you do whatever makes you comfortable and happy.
Yeah. I've been holding on to my mom's twin sister's ashes for, at least 10 years now. Yeah. If not longer.
Yeah.
Because my mom's request was to have the same for her and to spread them together. Since they came into the world together. Yeah. They would be laid to rest finally together. But
I have 2 of my dogs. I have Tahoe and then we have Sequoia. And I don't know what I'll ever do with those ashes. They're there and they have their own shelf in my office with a picture of Sequoia and stuff like that. But maybe, whatever I do when I die, or maybe when all of our dogs are gone, we put them together and spread them somewhere. Yeah. But yeah, especially for pets. Like, I know people that bury their animals, they just bury them in the ground. Okay. That's something completely different. You're giving back. But if you're putting them in like, a metal box or a concrete box or whatever, it's really not necessary. No. It's really not.
Why are we doing that?
I don't know.
That's to ease our own consciousness. We're trying to stop the natural progression of Mother Nature, and that just seems totally ridiculous to me.
Well, and I wonder too, I'm not religious, obviously. I don't know exactly what it is that the Christians believe is going to happen when Jesus comes back, but there's this rising from the dead thing,
Oh,
you
the
know, and your
zombies.
body, yeah, you can't cremate because there, what is that, Catholic? Or there's somebody that believes you can't cremate because if you do, then the body can't rise from the dead. Why do we want everybody's body in cemeteries rising from the dead? Why does this sound like a good idea? Doesn't sound fun to me. It really doesn't. Like, I have nightmares about
If
this.
Jesus were to come back,
Zombie
okay,
Jesus.
zombie Jesus, if he's going to come back, I don't think it's going to be like Poltergeist 3 and everybody's popping up out of the ground, you know, because, whoops, we buried this on an Indian reservation.
And you know what? There is a lot of stuff around here that's buried on people, like cemeteries that are Indian reservations. Yes. And it's like, come on, you guys. Like,
Those
it's really simple
bodies that are
what's going on
decomposed
out
and
there.
gone except bones, they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
It's just gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no spirit in there.
No. I know it's a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp because death is hard and we want to do what our loved ones want us to do or what our religion tells us to do or whatever, but really we should just do what's in our hearts, whatever that is. But I guess what I ask people, and I know you would too, is to do the most green method.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. If you insist on being buried, don't use the embalming stuff. Use whatever they have that's biodegradable as much as you can. But
Right.
if you don't need to be buried, just, you know, use the
I love the
most green stuff. What I do?
the opening scene of History of the World
Oh, I forgot that.
when it's like all the cavemen
Oh,
and the one dies and they're all crying and they're gonna bury. You think they're gonna bury him and they just chuck him out the cave and they're all booey, walking away like fuck you.
yeah. Ooh,
Sorry.
that's okay. I don't know why it shocks me so much. It's like we sit around and drop the F-bomb all day, but you get us on a podcast and he says the F word. I'm like, ooh. No. It's not a big deal here. Like on the podcast, on the radio show it is, but
Yeah.
like here it's not a big deal. So
No, it's
sorry
not.
if we offend anybody.
I
with
try
the
not to
F-bombs,
offend people,
yeah.
but I'm not like a sailor. I don't curse that hard, but sometimes it sneaks out. Sorry.
I honestly think at this point, society should just look at them as other words, like adjectives that just describe. What
I
you're
think
talking
they're
about
colorful,
anyways.
and they really
Colorful
help.
adjectives.
They really help tell stories.
I agree. I agree. So that's what I got for you.
Cool,
for
very good.
cemeteries. Yeah.
Good. That was fun.
Yeah.
Well, we hope, that nobody was offended by this.
For sure, yeah.
Again, it's totally our opinions,
Yeah.
what we believe.
Not pushing on you guys.
I would love to see all cemeteries and golf courses become forests.
yeah.
That's what I'd love.
Yeah.
Sorry, golfers, but
It's a little much. All this
Yeah.
grass and
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of grass to take care of. Trees, if we were planting these, sort of burying ourselves underneath with a tree growing above it, you're going to have the shade.
Yeah.
That's now protecting the ground a little more.
Yep.
And we've got more trees because God knows we've cut so many down.
Yep.
So we have more trees helping turn the carbon dioxide or whatever into oxygen or whatever it is that it's doing through photosynthesis.
The science stuff.
I'm not a botanologist or a biologist. I don't know what a botanologist. But anyways, so it would, I don't know, it just seems like it would make more sense.
Right?
And I feel like any other kind of era and time, was it that extravagant?
Totally. No.
Besides, Egyptians, which,
Yeah, that's totally different.
but, was it really that extravagant?
I don't think so.
Boxes and brass coffins and,
It's crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't either.
So I will say, though, going into that, I was rather surprised at Forest Lawn about how many current or recent burials there had been. You could
There
see-
were a lot. Yeah.
You could see the more recent ones because there'd be a pile of flowers
There were a lot.
left over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was
like
like,
your
whoa.
dad and my stepdad say, people are just dying to get in there, aren't they?
They sure are.
Whatever.
All right. All right. Well, before we say goodbye, would you like to share your information one more time?
Yes, so you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. Like I messaged, Sunny is going to be on my radio show this week doing the medium, talking about her medium work. So join us there. You can find the link on my website.
Cool.
And then you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And for my photography, djones71 photography for Instagram.
Yay.
That's it for me.
Fabulous.
We hope everybody got something out of this again
That we did.
and weren't offended. We hope you have a great week.